welcome to Dungeon Academics. My name is Thomas and I will be your instructor. Today I'd like to talk about a game called Gloom. Gloom is a really fun little card game with some unique game mechanics that I think tell us a lot about good game design and can definitely be used in other places. First of all, what is Gloom? Well, Gloom is this. This is a particular version called Gloom, A Night at Hemlock Hall. It's a fun game where you have to destroy the life of a family that you are controlling. It is a very melancholic, morbid game in that regard. So you have the members of your family and every other player has the members of their family. And what you need to do is to drive your family to despair and death, whilst making sure nice things happen to everyone else. Rather grim? Yes. Fun? Absolutely. The way the game works is you have your characters. This is a character card. There's a little bit of flavour text here. And on the other side, we have the portrait. We have some tags that tell you how the card interacts with the rest of the game. And you have their happiness rating. There are negative ones, implying bad things are happening, and positive ones that imply good things are happening. And the idea is you want to have as many negative tags as possible on your family with the highest value of despair occurring to them, and then you kill them. So they're miserable and dead. And you try to keep members of the other players' families alive and make sure good things happen to them. So you want them to be happy and alive. Now, the way the game works is you have event cards like this. Now, they're mostly transparent. There's a description of what happens, and you put it on top, and you can see that the portrait and the tags are still visible, and there are now new despair values. And what's quite interesting is that it's actually covered one up. This -10 has been covered up and replaced with a -20. So it's not just the value of the tag that's important, it's the position. For example, if I had another card like this one would end up covering up the -15. Now, it does change some of the tags or add new tags. There's the skull tag and the magnifying glass as opposed to the dagger tag. But you can cover it up, and now we've actually got a worse value. Worse for us, probably better for them because it's less gloomy. So the positioning of the tags is important. Ideally, I'd be looking for something that would go into this spot here so I could have 3 negative values. And I really like the way this game works. I mean, thematically, yes, it's a morbid, gloomy game, but that's what it's supposed to be. But mechanically, this is really clever. The transparent cards and the positioning of the numbers has this sort of little meta game in where you're trying to think what's the best combination of cards, not just in the values on them, but in the placement of those values so they fit together with everything else that I've got. I think this would be a fantastic mechanic to bring into a roleplay game. So you have different bits of equipment that all have different effects and values. Let's take armor, for example. Different bits of armor give you different bonuses to whatever survival mechanic your game is using. But not every bit of armor goes together nicely. I'm thinking Warhammer 40,000, the tabletop battle game at this point. So, for example, Terminator armor for Adeptus Astartes is the finest armor that the Imperium produces. The problem being, as it's quite large and not necessarily graceful, the users of Terminator armor traditionally don't get much benefit for cover. So maybe some of the benefit for the armor goes in the same spot that the benefit for cover would be. So if you tried to claim cover, it actually would reduce the effectiveness of your armor because it's in the wrong spot. On the other hand, let's say Eldari Rangers have lighter armor, but that armor location's in a different place so that when you add cover to it, they add together and offer better protection. And this idea of It's not just the value that something adds, but where it adds it onto the card, and then using these transparent cards to stack things up and seeing what bonuses come through. I think this is really, really nice. Now, a lot of people are going to disagree with me when I say this, because roleplay games are often seen as a very pure form of gaming, that all you need is a pencil, a paper, and a few dice, and you can play. And that's something I really like about roleplay games, that you don't need much stuff to play. But as someone who loves board games, I love these clever little bits of physical design. So the player board from Pest, with its double thick cardboard and spaces for all the different counters. These semi-transparent cards that you stack together to see which tags and which values show through. Things like this I really enjoy playing with. And maybe having a roleplay game that is obviously less physically intense than a board game, but perhaps more involved than just character sheet, pencil, and a handful of dice. Maybe there's a happy medium somewhere between the two that would be good for players. I personally would love that, but I understand that I might not necessarily represent all gamers out there. But anyway, this is Gloom. It's by, I have to check the box, it's written down here somewhere, Atlas Games. I really like it. A friend of mine has the Cthulhu version, Cthulhu Gloom, I think it was. That's great fun. So, if you want a nice game, this is supposed to take about an hour, 2 to 5 players. I've actually taken this to school and run a small game with a group of my students once, and they loved it as well. So definitely recommending for a small game, easy to carry around, doesn't take too long, mechanically interesting and narratively fascinating as well. So that's what I've been enjoying, and enjoy your next game, whatever it may be.